Initial D really isn't a series that needs much introduction. However, I need watch time, so I'll introduce it anyway. Starting off as a manga series written by Shuichi Shigeno, Initial D follows the character Takumi Fijiwater, who starts off by delivering tofu for his dad's business in an old Toyota Sprinter, in a manner that isn't exactly legal, i.e. sideways and without a driver's license. One night on his way back down the mountain, he overtakes a Mazda RX-7 that was up to no good, driving in a way that may also break a law or two. After this, he starts wearing some impenetrable plot armor and becomes Japan's best street racer in a matter of months. Following the success of the manga and succeeding anime, many games have come out of the Initial D series, with an ongoing arcade series and not so ongoing series of games released on PlayStation hardware being made by Sega. It is pretty undeniable when looking at the car community that Initial D's legacy has influenced generations of car enthusiasts. References to Initial D can be found in plenty of other games such as Forza Horizon, and it's pretty easy to find mods that are straight ports of the Toge courses from the Initial D games for Sato and Beam. However, this legacy has had its costs. Cars such as the twin-cam Corolla are now being sold for upwards 10 times their actual value, and even worse, unofficial Steam games. Initial Drift Online, like a lot of these games, has a deceptively unoriginal title. But hey, I'm not the most original person ever, so I can hardly complain. This is something that you'll come to find with a lot of these games though. This particular one was released by Rewind App in March of 2023. Often I'll list other titles made by the same developer while introducing a game, however for this game, there is a reason as to why I'm going to be introducing their other games afterwards. And yeah, you can probably guess why. Fortunately, I received this game for free. I didn't pirate it, I got it for a 100% off promotion on Steam a while back. And upon actually wasting 6 gigs of drive space on my desktop installing it, I can with confidence say that this feels like a Unity asset flip. Mount Haruna felt like the obvious track to go for getting a feel for racing, and surprisingly I did find that there were actually people in the game. The gameplay itself consists of either doing head-to-head battles against other drivers, or simply delivering tofu for cash, neither of which were enjoyable as for whatever reason by default, when using a controller, up and down on the left analog stick are set to accelerate and brake respectively, alongside the modern standard L2, R2 brake and accelerate inputs. On my first drive of Mount Haruna, I was starting to get the slight suspicion that this game may or may not be using stolen assets from an Assetto modded track, or a rip from an Initial D game. Despite this, the map quality is observably about as good as a half-digested Chewit, and simply brushing against a barrier paired with the dogshit controls and catshit physics is enough to bring whatever you're driving to a complete fucking stop. Once at the bottom of the mountain, there was somebody in MR2 that decided to pass time by simply spinning around. Can't exactly say I blame him though, because it looked more enjoyable than the actual game itself. After clicking return to lobby, I was surprised to return to the top of Mount Haruna, and upon noticing that the tofu shop had relocated to the top of the mountain, I decided to make a delivery to see how good the mode was, and I mean, it's fine. The tofu delivery mode just feels poorly added into the game, but that's kinda everything about this game. It simply acts as a time trial mode, and is a fairly easy way to make a bit of money. I admittedly replayed this mode a few times just to buy an FSO Polonaise, but I don't think there's an awful lot of replayability in this game for me. A handful of the reviews on Steam did say that this game felt like it should have been in early access, and I wouldn't hesitate to agree. The visuals look like those from a shittily thrown together mobile game, even when running it at ultra settings. However, one or two reviews were saying that the trees had a nostalgic charm to them, and to be fair, they could be considered nostalgic if you grew up in a low level of detail background area. But for most people, I just don't think this is the case. To most people, including myself, this game looks like shit. To me, realistic graphics aren't the most important thing in making a game look good, rather having a good art direction, but this game lacks either. It's the video game equivalent of baking bread with sawdust because it looks like flour. The game has a supposed 79% positive rating on Steam, which I do have my doubts about being completely organic. Overall though, I'm being harsh on this game for a reason. I could look past its major issues if it wasn't for a few huge details. Out of all the games that I reviewed for this, which was only free, this is the only one that wasn't in early access and was available for full purchase. Even more, this game has DLC and microtransactions, and if you wanted to have a look at the other games that Rewind App have released, you may notice something not quite right. I will not be buying each individual game in order to go through all of them, however, These other 3 games simply look like reiterations of the same concept, all of which I was to suspect being asset slaps featuring stalling content. I also get the sense, and I may be incorrect on this, but their upcoming Akina feels like the promotional image may have been quite heavily touched up with a lick of AI-enhanced paint. Initial delivery is only playable as a demo right now. The game's description says that I'll be paid 500 yen per hour for playing it though, which converts to just under £2.40. Installing the game only took up roughly 500 megabytes of space, and the game does look to have a bit more of an art style compared to Initial Drift Online, even though the bar was in hell. The game is incredibly simplistic, however. The presence of a seed in the corner of the screen though indicates to me that this game is procedurally generated. Which, if I'm being honest, does seem like an idea with potential behind it. I do hope the developer of this game does see this video, as I feel there is potential with this game. While I'm not a fan of making the title so similar to Initial D, something like this definitely could be improved upon. In a way, it reminded me of the games Art of Rally and #Drive, so I do hope this game can find its own identity and succeed in the future. Also, this is the first time I've heard a 1.9 turbo diesel swap twin cam. Not exactly the first engine swap that comes to mind when thinking about those cars, but it's creative. Before I go on to talk about the next game though, I do have to be a cuntbag and do the #1 line of every YouTuber. If you have enjoyed the video so far, do feel free to like and subscribe, and to comment below. As far as I know, comments mean more of the YouTube algorithm than likes and views do, so it would be appreciated. I also stream. Sometimes. A link to both my Discord and Twitch will be in the description, so you don't miss whatever this is if you're interested in it. Anyway, back to the video. Getting a little bit too comfortable with the naming here, aren't we? You don't wanna lawsuit from Sega, or who owns Initial D? Let me search it out. Actually, who owns Initial D? Who owns Initial D? Kodansha. Don't want a lawsuit from Kodansha. The game Initial D, as of making this, is available for open playtesting. The description on Steam says it's set in the near future, where autonomous AI cars are the only things left on the road, and according to the minimum specs, this game needs at least a GTX 1080 to run properly, which to me is a little high. After installing the biggest of these 3 games, at a comparatively huge 30GB, I can say for certain that the game looks better than the previous 2 games, is what I thought I would be saying. Except I'm not. Why are parts of my car missing? Why are my doors different colours? Why am I floating in the void? Why am I playing this game? Why does everything have this deep-fried filter to it? In all seriousness, I can tell this game's far from finished. It's in playtest, not even early access, and again, I feel as if this is another game that simply needs to find its own identity rather than latching onto another IP success. The Steam page links to an active Twitter account though, so development is still underway, and it would be a shame if this game would be taken down due to copyright for using the name Initial D. This doesn't mean that I don't have criticisms of the game though. Personally, I'm not very keen on the post-process filters such as the aggressive sharpening, but ultimately this game's way too early in development for me to have any major bones to pick about it. I know my opinion on this is about as useful as telling somebody with complex depression to cheer up a bit, as I am not a developer, but I do feel as if this may have been a little bit too early to release as a public playtest. Despite this, I do hope the best for the developers behind Initial Delivery and Initial D, the very in-development game that is. Initial Drift on the other hand, maybe not so much.